Hey Fly Tyers, welcome back. My name is Matt, and thank you for stopping by the channel. And if this is your first time here, and you want to see some cool fly tying tips and tricks, maybe learn some new patterns, some old patterns, then subscribe. Click the bell so you don't miss anything. Now I got a pretty cool pattern for you tonight. There's zero history on this thing. It's called a little yellow stone. Now I looked it up online, I looked in a dozen of my books. I couldn't find anything on it other than Dave Hughes in his American Fly Tying Manual from 1986. So I want to give credit for this fly to Dave Hughes, and we'll just say it was created sometime maybe in the 1980s. It's really kind of one of these flies that a lot of people have probably created it over the years, and nobody in particular has really laid claim to it. But it's a pretty fun one, very easy, super easy fly. If this video takes me more than 5 minutes, then I am talking too much. But now let me talk about the material real quick. This whiting high and dry, a half cape right here, a good dry fly hackle, dyed yellow. So the little yellow stone we're about to tie uses this in the front and the back. Now, here's a question for you. How many people have this? And would I recommend for a casual fly tyer to go out there and spend $35 for a cape like this? No, probably not. I mean, you can tie hundreds of flies with this, but how many flies do you tie where you need this fancy yellow hackle? Probably not that many, but it's cool stuff. I mean, get it if you want it, why not? And if you're going to tie today's fly and you don't have the yellow grizzly dyed hackle, just use your regular grizzly hackle or some kind of lighter colored white or dun. It'll look fine. As long as you have the yellow body, we can still call it a little yellow stone. Anyway, it's a pretty cool fly. I think you'll like it. Let's give it a shot. There you go, in the vise, what I'm calling the Dave Hughes little yellow stone. I'm tying this on a size 12. It's a 1X long dry fly hook. Recommended sizes on this guy are really just 10 or 12. And I'm going to put down a base of yellow thread. This is 70 denier UTC, all the way back to the band. And for the tail, I'm going to use some of the fibers from this dyed yellow grizzly dry fly hackle. Just from one of the bigger feathers, pull 10 or 12 fibers from the base of it. Let's get this caught in right here. Couple of wraps and check it. That might be a little bit longer than I like, so let's back it up and shorten it just a touch. That's why we slow down to check our position. Okay, I think that's going to be fine right there. Catch that in with a couple of turns there. And I've got quite a bit up front, so I'm going to go ahead and trim it. If you didn't have too much, it would be just as quick to bury it. But now we'll have to be careful. Well, we won't have to be too careful because we're going to have a hackle right here, and then we're going to have the yellow body, and then another hackle. So, speaking of that pretty cool looking yellow hackle, this guy right here. This is a long one. It's got some long feathers right here and then some shorter on the end. So I will just hold it down and guess where I think, okay, that's about how long I want them in the back. That's going to be my back hackle, and the front hackle over here, they're going to be a bit longer. So I will just strip some of the fibers, the barbules, I guess they're called, off. Get a good tie-in point right here. And just catch it in, concave side toward the hook, maybe at a little 45-degree angle. Wrap it back. Okay, got some bare stem there, that's always good. I'm going to take my thread back up just in front of the point. So this is, that even might be farther than I need, because we're only going to put about maybe 4 turns of this hackle back here. And I don't have a whole lot to work with, so I'm definitely putting in my hackle pliers. Take that first full wrap back there, and then do what you can to keep it wrapped, where the fibers are coming out perpendicular to the hook. Sometimes it's hard and the feather will want to spin around on you. Just take your time and be careful there. So this is 3 right there. And let's see, how is our 4th one going to do for us? Okay, I think that's going to do fine right there. I'll back this thread off a couple of wraps. Now I can catch this in right here with 2 good wraps of the thread. I'll release my pliers, come in here and snip this excess off right here. Now we've got, the feathers aren't going back. I like how they are right there, but they might be just leaning a little bit forward. So what we can do here is just pull these back and then put a couple wraps maybe right back here. Or we can use the body that we're about to put down to help push that back. But I think we're going to be in fine shape right there. So I'm going to take my thread back up, and I'm going to smooth this little bump out right there. So I've got a little bump between where I tied that hackle in and where the hook shank is. So what you can do, this is only 70 denier thread, so it would take quite a bit of wraps to really build this body up. But I'm going to try to build it up just a little bit right here. Okay. Now take it back to the middle and some yellow synthetic yarn. This stuff right here, it's a little bit stretchy. I'm going to pull off about probably 8 inches because I'm going to wrap it from the back. I'm going to go up and then maybe down and back again, depending on how thick I want the body. So my thread's hanging in the middle, and I'm going to just catch that in with 1 wrap, pull it back a little bit so I don't have those ends showing. And okay, I think that's going to work right there. I'll bring my thread back up here to where the front of the body is going to be. Okay, now I'm going to wrap this hackle. Remember, I'm going to wrap it all the way forward, and then I'll see how thick it is, and I might need to go back, down and back to get, which would put about 3 layers of yarn on the body. Okay, after you've got a body you like, go ahead and catch the yarn off at the front. You can see I had a little bit of trouble there on the back. I was starting to trap some of those fibers, so I just had to take my time and pull it back as I wrapped it. But I think that will work for our body. Now, you can either use that same feather we just did if you have enough left of it, or you can take another one and do the same thing here. We want this one to be just a little bit longer than the back. I think that's going to work right here. I will strip off a stem right here, snip this, and get me a tie-in point. Turn the concave side toward the hook just like we did the back. Maybe catch it in at a 45-degree angle. Get a couple of wraps. Okay, that's going to work. Now I'll lock this in real good. Point that stem up so I can snip it off. Now this one, I'm not going to need any hackle pliers because I've got about 6 inches of feather here to work with. So just try to do the same thing. Let's get that first wrap here. Now we're oriented where it's perpendicular to the hook, and just try to get a good 4, maybe even 5 wraps right here. And I don't want them going too far forward, so I'm going to try to tease them back with my fingers as I go. And I've already lost count. I think that's 4. I'm going to go 1 more. We've still got room up here in the head. Just might have some sticking forward here that we're going to have to contend with next. So after you've got enough hackle up forward, a couple of securing wraps right there. And do I want to snip that excess off or go ahead and start the head? I think I'm going to go ahead and start the head here. Just try to push as many of these back as you can. Take your thread right back behind the eye, and we'll build a little ramp going back and trapping any that would otherwise be sticking forward. Okay, now I think that's going to work right there. And we can go ahead and do the whip finish right here before we even snip off this excess. Just kind of zigzagging it back through there. I don't want to trap any of these fibers. Going forward. Poke my scissors in here to get rid of the thread. And I'll spin it around so I can snip this. Now, if there's any cleanup, now's the time to do it. If they're sticking too far back, just take your hackle brush or your toothbrush. This is a fancy toothbrush right here. And there you go. I might should have put my head cement on it before I did that, but I can still put a drop of head cement on there. So there you go, folks. What I'm calling Dave Hughes Little Yellow Stone. Pretty cool pattern. Can be pretty effective, dry fly, anytime the yellow sallies or yellow stoneflies are out on the water. But that's it. I really appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.